Okay. All right, I have started the recording. Welcome to our session. Let me go ahead and share my slides. Thanks, Lindsay, Lewis, and Clark in Portland. That is awesome. Okay. So let's see if I can share here. Do I want to share my desktop? Probably. Okay. All right, welcome to the OSAC Oregon Promise and FAFSA presentation. I am Jen Tracewell. I am here in Bend with my colleague Rob Williams.
Hi guys.
So we have got a great info session in store for you on, last week we did some virtual college, what did I do here? No signal. You guys probably can't see my screen anymore. What did I do, Rob?
Oh, you're good.
Okay. There it is. I'm not going to touch anything. Yeah, how to pay for these great colleges that you would like to go to with as much what we call free money as possible, meaning money you don't have to repay. So we'll start off with OSAC and then move into Oregon Promise, which is a grant, and then FAFSA, which is just a reminder about applying for federal student aid. So we're going to start with, I will cover OSAC, Rob will cover Oregon Promise and FAFSA. So the first thing I want you to do is, if you have a notepad you can take a few notes on, jot down a few deadlines, or maybe just grab your phone and put these on your phone calendar to remind you. We will send out this recording and all of these notes when we're done here today, and for the hundreds of students and parents who couldn't make it today, you will also get all of this info as well. Let me move this up so you guys can see that. Okay. Let me go back right there. So the early bird deadline for OSAC, which is, I'm going to explain in great detail what that stands for, and it's sort of this huge scholarship pool that you can enter with just one application. So the early bird deadline is February 15th. A final deadline that you really need to keep in mind is March 1st, 5 p.m. Everything needs to be turned in by then. So you're going to start it now. The reason we're having this presentation before you head off for winter break is so you can start working on these applications and be ready to hit the submit button once you have gathered everything that you're going to need. And we're going to tell you about here in just a sec. So OSAC stands for Office of Student Access and Completion. And they do offer just one easy application to access hundreds of scholarships. In fact, it's like over $18 million, Rob, in scholarship money. It's oh yeah, that's right. I can't move the computer. That's what did me in last time. They can still see it, but you guys cannot. Okay, I'm not going to touch it anymore. So the timeline, again, between now and February, you're going to be working on that application. I'm going to actually go there live to the website and walk you through it, talk you through each of the 5 or 6 sections. But you can't submit it until you have this terms, grades, and transcripts. So for Baker Web Academy students, you need semester 1 to end and get those grades posted. For Baker Early College students, you've just finished your first term and those grades are being posted now. But I do want you to start your application now so it can be ready to hit submit once you have those transcripts. All right? That's for seniors. If you're a junior, still start it now. You can't submit it until your senior year, when you get those first term or first semester grades. All right, let's move forward one slide here. The application itself, I don't think there's anything really new here. I'm gonna go ahead and just take you into the portal so you can see what it looks like and that it's not as scary as it sounds. And if you're really on top of it and you do submit by February 15, you do get entered into a drawing for a $1,000 early bird scholarship award. They have multiple of those. So not just one person can win that, multiple people can win an extra $1,000 just for applying by February 15th. So that's kind of great. If you plan on attending a school outside of Oregon, we want to make sure that you understand that this money is not just for Oregon schools. It will follow you for most of the scholarships. Some are only Oregon school specific, but most of the scholarships in the OSAC pool can be used at any U.S. post-secondary institution, whether it's public or private, a nonprofit, some for-profit, anything that's eligible for Title IV federal student aid. The exception is a U.S. military academy. They are not eligible for the OSAC scholarships I'm going to talk to you about today. Those military academies will have their own funding sources and different requirements. So there we go. And next, you don't need a lot at hand to apply. You just need your social security number. That's required for need-based scholarships. If you're not a U.S. citizen, there are still a lot of scholarship avenues for you that I'll talk about shortly. For example, the Ford Family Scholarship is open to undocumented citizens, but in general, you'll need a social security number. If you don't have one, for whatever reason, make sure you talk to myself or Rob Williams or your advisor or your counselor, and we can still direct you to what is available. Okay, and Rob will talk a little bit about that when he talks about financial aid. To apply for OSAC scholarships, you need to designate at least one college that you are considering going to. Hopefully you have a handful that you can list on the application. You have to list at least one. And then you'll need contact information where people, the committee can get a hold of you. We need an address, a phone number, a cell phone, an email address, parent guardian contact information. I was just on the phone today with one of the largest scholarship foundations, and they said, we pretty much use email these days to let people know they've won a scholarship. So that's going to be important that you don't make any little silly errors when you're typing in your email. All right, so let's get started and let's go to the OSAC portal. So if you are watching this recording later and have these notes, this is a live link that you'll be able to click on, OregonStudentAid.gov. And I think I'm going to direct us to look at the scholarship catalog first. And so once you get into the OregonStudentAid.gov, I'll have you click that scholarship link. And so I'm going to actually go there right now with you to look at this so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's the live website itself. So it's actually app.oregonstudentaid.gov. And before I even begin my application, I can click this scholarship link right here, this tab up at the top that says scholarships. And it gives me the catalog of these 500 plus scholarships to look at. And so this, if I click full catalog, it's going to open up. It's like a 105-page document. It's a huge document that you don't print it out. That's a lot of pages. You would just want to use it as a search engine type thing. But it has every single scholarship available, hundreds with different criteria for the high school you attend, or the county that you live in, or the college major you plan on, or your grade point average, your ethnicity, any certain club you belong to, the place where your parents work. There are so many different little niche categories. You don't want to miss any of these. So the other cool thing I realized early this morning when I was putting the final touches on this presentation, there's a great Facebook page. So if you go to Facebook and Google, or not Google, sorry, search for OSAC Oregon, like that page, and a couple times a week they'll post some updates about deadline reminders, new scholarships that they've just added, maybe just highlighting a special one that you might not have thought about. So definitely check out the OSAC Facebook page. It's a really great resource. All right, so that was step one. I just wanted to make sure that you knew where to find that scholarship catalog, because that is the end game here, is that out of those 500 plus scholarships to choose from, you are allowed to apply to up to 40 of those. So keep that number in mind, and I'll show you what it looks like on the actual application and how you apply for those within OSAC. All right, so let me head back over to this presentation. So we've gone to that portal and we've looked at the scholarship catalog, so you know what's available through OSAC. And then the search feature within OSAC is not the greatest thing ever created. So I would recommend going to another search tool, for example, fastweb.com. I have 4 listed here. I'm going to look real quick at fastweb.com with you, just because I want you to, let's see, right here, fastweb.com. You can join it for free. Just fill in your basic information. You can be a student or a parent, your grade level, high school graduation, your location. And it goes through a couple of pages of features. I have heard really great stuff. Rob, have you heard good stuff about FastWeb? I'm highlighting it because I hear across the board. You hear good things?
I do, yes. It's definitely on my list of sites I'd recommend for outside scholarship searches.
Okay. So what I did earlier is I got on FastWeb. I found that the search engine worked a lot better than OSAC, and then I would go back over to OSAC, and when I create my account and log in there, I'll search OSAC for that particular scholarship that I really like, that I think I would qualify for, and see if it's one of the OSAC scholarships. If so, I will save time, energy, and lots of writing if I can apply through OSAC, because I do one application here for, you know, many scholarships. Now, some scholarships you find on FastWeb or other search engines may not be an OSAC specific scholarship, and so you may have to do extra applications. Believe me, it is worth all of the time that you put into it. You know, if you devote 10 hours of your life to your entire scholarship application, and you earn, you know, $1,000 total, I mean, do the math. How much per hour did you just earn? So think of it that way. It is really worth the investment of your time. And we direct you to OSAC first, just because it's the greatest return on investment of your time. All right, so tip is go to FastWeb to do your searching, only because it works function-wise. It's a little bit better than the OSAC search engine, you know, and I'll show you kind of how clunky it is here. So if I live in Deschutes County, so I'm going to type in Deschutes as a search in that little search bar right there. And maybe I didn't spell it right, I'm not sure, but, and it's going to bring me up a list of scholarships that mention people who live in Deschutes County. And so here's a brand new one. If you live in Deschutes County, you know about Kaylee Ann Sawyer. That's been in the news. There's an awesome scholarship in her name for graduates of Mountain View High School. Now that doesn't apply to Baker Webb Academy, but it is indeed a Deschutes County scholarship. So the search feature is working. So you can put in keywords here and you can search. So it does work, but just know that FastWeb is going to get you there a little bit faster. So there you go, search engine. And I wanted to highlight a couple more scholarships before I go back into the application, because there are so many, there's hundreds, and there are some that you absolutely need to apply for no matter what. Because if you're a resident of Oregon and have a certain grade point average, most of these The Ford Scholars, it is the largest one that OSAC offers. Some of them are 100% full scholarship paid for, so go there to that site. You apply through OSAC, but to get more information, just go to the Ford Family Foundation website. It's for any Oregon public or nonprofit college that you want to go to. The exception is it does not cover online college. So if you plan on having your college path be online, Ford Family Scholarship won't cover that, but others would. So if you're entering as a freshman or transferring in as a junior, they also have scholarships for older students, and they have special ones for any one whose parent or guardian works at Roseburg Forest Products. So that is one to note. Next, I want to call out Oregon Teacher Scholars and the Trailblazers Scholarship. The Oregon Teacher Scholar is for anyone who would like to pursue a career in education in a teacher licensure program, up to $5,000 on that award. And then the Trailblazers Scholarship for a graduate of any Oregon high school who has a strong history of community service and a grade point average of 2.0 or higher. That can give you up to $2,500 in scholarships. And the next one I want to highlight is one that you really should look at. If you are in a family in which you are a first-generation college student, I would recommend looking at the Franz and Catherine Stenzel scholarships. They have one for non-medical majors and then one for medicine majors. And so those are up to $5,000 each. And I think they both require a high school GPA of 2.75 or higher. And if you are transferring or a current college student, then a 2.5 or higher. So that's another one that I wanted to call out. I forgot, I have two more. The Seneca Sawmill Company, if you are graduating from a high school in Oregon or California, certain counties like Siskiyou, up to $10,000. So don't miss that one. That's a really big one. You have additional essays for some of these scholarships, including the Seneca Sawmill one. And Fred Fields, if you are interested in engineering, business, or CTE majors, and you would like to attend an Oregon community college, this is a great one. It's automatically renewable each year, and the award amounts range between $4,000 and $10,000. So make sure that one gets on your list as well. Okay, I am going to now pause real quick and actually get into the OSAC site and let you see what this looks like before I move into this next section where I talk about the application process as a whole. I want to look at that scholarship piece and how you select those on your application, and then we're going to look at how to fill out the application. And there's a student profile section, a place where you write 4 personal statements, an activities chart, your transcripts, and other documents that are required. So let's get back in there to OSAC, and I'm going to go ahead and log in as a student so you can see what it looks like as a student. All right, so I'm going to go home, I'm going to log in. I'll tell you guys a secret. I have a daughter who's a senior in high school right now, and she's partway through her application, and she's allowing me to share this. I won't share any personal information, but you'll be able to see what an application looks like, okay? So I wanted you to see a real live application and that it's not difficult to do. So you're gonna go in and you're going to click, start my application, and you can see that Miss Jamie has started her application. So once you go to the studentaid.gov site, you're going to click the button that says apply, and you're going to end up here where you start building your application. So Jamie's page looks like this because she started one. It's in process, and we're going to click that edit button so you can see you can go back to it. And I'm going to click her edit button, and you can see what it looks like so far. You've got a nice progress bar up here. She's 32% complete, and she's going to be working on this over holiday break, like hopefully all of you guys are going to do, and have it ready to push send by, February, whatever, when you have your transcripts from this first term. So I won't show you all of her personal information, but I wanted you to see the sections, okay? So you're just going to put in some of your identifying information, contact information. You're going to tell a little bit about yourself and your family, what high school you go to. That's very important because that's going to generate specific scholarships. So make sure you make the right selection on your high school. And college history, this is, and college plans, you have to declare at least one intended degree. So make sure when you get to the college plans, I'll click in there as you can see, you have to put in at least one college of choice. So if I click here, I'm going to type in Boise State for her because she actually already got accepted there. So I'm going to click this for her. She won't be dual enrolled. She'll just be at Boise State as an example. You have to, like I said, choose at least one. College standing as of fall of 2019. That's this coming fall. She'll be a freshman. And so Rob, for our early college students who will possibly have an associate's degree already, do they choose freshman, sophomore? This is a little unclear, but I'm going to go ahead and select freshman because most of our colleges, and it varies college to college, if they want you to apply as a freshman no matter what. If you have just graduated from high school, even if you've accumulated a bunch of college credits through Baker Early College.
Yeah, I always say check with the admissions department of the college or university that you're planning to apply to, and you can explain your situation that you are in a dual enrollment program, and you have a certain number of community college credits. Would they prefer that you apply as a first-year freshman, or if you have 60 community college credits, could you then apply as a sophomore, or however they want you to do it? But I would say check with those admissions.
Okay, great job. Thank you. All right. And then you will need to go through, and you guys, this might change. Don't let this scare you, but just choose your plan as of right this moment. Are you working towards, an associate's if you've chosen a community college as your choice? I happen to know my daughter is looking at biology as her major, so I'm going to choose Bachelor of Science. Do choose an area of study. It is going to serve you really well in your scholarship search, believe me. Do not leave this blank. And so I'm going to start typing in biology and see what comes up. And so she's got several biology choices. We're going to go with biology, biosystems, engineering. And Jamie can go back and change this at any time. I'm playing. She gave me permission to play around with this today. And second major, this is optional. Okay, that first major, definitely choose something in there. And I'm just gonna go in and put engineering as her second choice. And expected completion date. So if you plan to graduate in 2 years, 4 years, just go ahead and plan that out. And we're just going to pick a date for her of June of 2022. We're going to go ahead and add that. And again, this can be changed at any time. And you can go down and see there's a career goal. Again, scholarship matches are tied to how you fill this out, but know that this is changeable, and it's okay. And so we're going to go ahead and pick something off of the list here, and these are really broad categories, and so we're just going to go ahead and look in the science category for her. And So we're going to put research. You'd like to be sort of research biologist. Am I typing that correctly? Can't really. And I'm just going to go ahead and save that. And I'm not going to go through every page. I just wanted to highlight a couple of interesting things in here so you knew not to just bypass it. Okay. All right. And let me go ahead and get back out of this section right here. So we did a little bit of your college plans, college of choice required. It didn't stick up there, so I want you to notice any red highlights. It says required, so when I chose Boise State, it didn't stick in there for whatever reason, so notice when things like that happen because little computer glitches happen all the time. And I'm just gonna hit the save button down there again and see if it stuck in there that time. So there you go. So there are certain features that, you know, you have a required field, just keep your eyes open for that. All right, I'm gonna head back out to my profile. Always return there to, now you might notice that now where it says college plans, there's a green check right there. And it wasn't there when I opened up her application. So she got something in there. She can go back and edit that later. The other really important piece of this I want to show you is Section 10 scholarships. And it says right here, you have the option to apply for 38 more scholarships. Yay! You get to apply to up to 40 out of those 500 plus that are listed. And I want to show you how to select them. And so I'm going to click that scholarship link right there. And you can see that she was pre-selected based on the high school she goes to in Deschutes County for a scholarship. It says, all applicants from your high school will be considered. That's going to happen sometimes dependent on what high school you go to or what demographic information that you entered. You might just notice one that you didn't even apply for that just showed up there. Let it sit there. Okay, Jamie has already selected the Ford Scholars Program and the Seneca Sawmill. I just told you about those two. So Jamie's pretty smart, or she has a smart mom who says, you got to apply for these ones. I wanted you to notice the red print here. You are missing at least one required essay or short answer, or you're required to upload a document. So some of these scholarships that you apply for have essays in addition to the 4 personal short answer things that I'm going to tell you about in just a minute. So pay attention to that red print right there. And if I want to know what those missing things are, you know, I just click into that scholarship, read all the fine print. It's going to tell me what the additional essay is. Okay. If you decide, I don't really want to apply for that one anymore, you can just unapply. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and hit the continue button here, and it'll take me right back here. Now, how did I get those scholarships in there? The Ford Scholar and the Seneca. So I want to show you how to get them on your list. And it's pretty easy. I do see that I have 6 that are recommended, and that's a good place to start. Based on whatever information Jamie enters, it's going to select some for you based on where you live or what your major is going to be. And so I can see that this search engine chose some for me to match up where I live and what high school I go to or what major I selected. So I can see a couple of here. I'm going to go ahead and look at one of these, the Gregory M. Scholarship. And I want to look at, well, do I really meet the guidelines? And looking at the overview, maybe not. And I am going to just continue. So I can decide, no, I don't think that one really does fit me. It was recommended, but I'm not quite sure. Sorry, let me go back to that recommended one. And I want to look at just one more called Rise and Shine. So you must have attended the Rise and Shine Learning Center for Young Children Preschool in Portland. I told you there's some really interesting niche categories. You never know. I'm not sure why OSAC thought Jamie went to this preschool, but you know, your recommended list is not always going to apply to you. So I'm going to just continue. I could hide that one, and I probably would go back and do that. All right, so just take a look at your recommendeds. They may or may not match up, but I do want to go to this all scholarships link. And this is how I actually add one to my list. And so I told you to go to FastWeb and search for scholarships, or search through OSAC. And I told you a little bit ago about the Trailblazers one. I'm just going to type that in, and there it is, Trailblazers Legends. And this is one that is really tied to your community service. And if you have a strong record of being involved in your community, a GPA of at least a 2-point, and you plan to go to college at least half time, you're like, yep, actually, I do want to apply for that one. All you do now is click that little button that says apply for scholarship, and boom, it's in your list. It is literally that easy to add it in there. And now you can see there it is in my list, and there's no additional essay tied to it. So some will, and it'll tell you right here in red print if there's anything else you need to do to apply for that. For Trailblazers, nope, you're done. All you have to do is this OSAC application, and you're good to go. All right, so now let me go back to my profile. That's how you apply to specific OSAC scholarships, by just literally searching and clicking that button. So again, to refresh your memory here, check your recommended category. By the time Jamie fills out her entire application, she'll probably have 30 or 40 recommended to her, but you can see she's only 36% complete. So more will be added the more information you give OSAC. But let's go back to my profile, and let me show you another really important section, which is called transcripts. So I'm going to click that little button right there. And the number one reason that your OSAC application gets rejected has to do with your transcript being incomplete, not being submitted correctly, not having your current, first semester senior year grades on it. So I wanted to go over this specifically because I called the OSAC office and talked to them about this, and they said, make sure kids understand how to do this. It's not that complicated, and there's some do's and don'ts. I won't read all of them to you, but you do just need to make sure that your name and your school name, the courses that you've taken, your grades, that's all accurate. Your GPA, your cumulative GPA needs to be on your transcript. Here's some really good news, everybody. You can submit an unofficial transcript yourself. You can request it from Baker. You can get an unofficial transcript sent to you, and you can load it yourself into OSAC, which is my number one recommendation for you. And I talked to our registrar this morning, and it's also her recommendation. So let me pop out of here and go back to my, my PowerPoint and talk to you about the transcript piece. So I'm going to go ahead and go into present mode right here so you can see this a little bit bigger, and talk about the transcript piece. So again, I'm sounding like a broken record, but you have to have grades from your senior year, first semester if you're a Baker Web Academy student, or the first trimester if you are an early college student. All right. And again, they've told me the only reason for a rejected OSAC scholarship application is that your transcript is missing or incomplete. And you need to know that grades aren't posted yet. I mean, Web Academy students, your first semester isn't even over yet. And so you have to finish your first semester at the end of January. Grades will start getting posted at the beginning of February. And transcripts should be available shortly thereafter, early February. So just be aware of that timeline. We want you to start OSAC now because there are some essays that you need to get on top of, and you got to search through all those scholarships to figure out which ones, you know, apply to you. But the transcript piece. So again, there you go. Now, how does OSAC get your transcript? I'm just going to talk you through that again. This is just a screenshot of what I just showed you on the actual website, maybe confirming that all of your information is correct. And it says right here, official transcripts are not a requirement. So an unofficial transcript that you have requested from our registrar works. So here are the 3 ways that OSAC says you can get a transcript to them. Number 1, and there you will see the 3 links when I go back to the live website. I'll show you where those 3 links are. Option number 1, you can click request from high school. And you would ask your registrar to upload your transcript through OSAC's high school portal. When you click this option, request from high school, you're going to get this little message that pops up that says, print out the transcript request form and give it to your high school counselor. I am informing you of this method because it's on their website, but it's not not our number 1 recommended way. This will do it. We've had kids do it this way, click the request from high school, but it requires you to fill out this whole extra form. You have to print out this PDF, send it to our registrar, Jen Long, at jlong@bakercharters.org, and then she uploads your transcript directly to OSAC. But it requires that you fill out this extra form, and it's just one more step that isn't necessary. But again, I'm pointing it out because it's on their website, and I want to make sure I cover everything. So this is the PDF that comes up for you to, you have to print it, fill it out, and then either fax it or, you know, take a picture and, you know, email a PDF or just an image to our registrar requesting it. But method number 2 is the best option. So instead, if you click the second choice on the transcript page at OSAC that says upload file, you can do this yourself. You can upload the unofficial transcript, so you can have 100% confidence that it was done, it's there, you're not wondering whether your registrar or counselor did their part. You've taken care of it, and you've shown, you know, I think great responsibility, and you know that it's going to be there. So the only thing you need in your hands is your transcript. How do you get it? There is a transcript request link, and it is actually in the email signature line of most of our teachers here, definitely your counselors and advisory teachers, but I have it posted right down here. Rob, actually, do you want to put that in the chat box right now for students, that transcript request link? When you get the slides from today's presentation, this link is a live link that you can actually click. And, oh, sorry, there you go. And so you would go to that transcript request link. You would fill out just like a one-page little easy form online. You don't have to print anything out. And that request goes directly to Jen Long, our registrar. And you just fill out, hey, I need this for OSAC. And then she will send the transcript to you, the student, and you will upload it yourself into your OSAC student portal. Absolute best option, because you've got the transcript in your own hands and you load it yourself into OSAC. So please do that. If you have questions about that, anyone who's watching this video later or anyone in the room right now, let me know, because this is the biggest hang up for students, and it's actually one of the easiest parts of the whole thing, and yet it tends to be the one thing that holds people up from getting a complete application. So just get that unofficial transcript after grades are posted. Click upload file right there, and just choose your file and upload it. So that's super easy. The third option that OSAC will present to you is that you can mail or hand deliver your transcript. Now, I don't know how many of you want to go all the way over to Eugene and hand deliver a transcript to the OSAC office, but there you go. They're listing that as a choice. I wouldn't even consider this one unless there was some crazy thing that happened that you couldn't get it any other way, but just wanted to let you know that that's the third option. All right. Transcript. And now let's look at the 4 personal statements real quick. And these are really short, and they only allow you to use 1,000 characters per question. It's not 1,000 words, it's 1,000 characters. So every letter and space and punctuation counts as a character. So this is just a few paragraphs for each of these. And that's the maximum. And a little bit of feedback is that. So let me go through each of these 4. I'm just going to read them out loud to you. This is the part that I want you working on over break. Because you have such a limited amount of space, I tell students, make every word count. Really put effort into being concise and as vivid as you can, as unique as you can in the very small amount of space that you have. So first question that they're going to ask you is, what are your specific educational plans and career goals and why? What inspires you to achieve them? And so this is where you're going to want to talk about, you know, a lot of students are like, I have no idea what I want to do. I'm asking you to think of at least one thing, and maybe you're going to change your mind in 6 months or maybe even 6 days, and that is okay. But have some kind of direction of something that sounds exciting to you or even vaguely interesting. If there's like literally blank slate, you need to come up with some goal. And you know what? I tell students all the time, I went through lots of career changes myself. I started out going to law school and went halfway through that and quit, and it just wasn't for me. And then I went into another career path, and then I finally made my way into education and became a teacher. And I had several different jobs in education. And when I filled out the OSAC, I never would have said I'm going to be a teacher. I would have said I'm going to, work for the United Nations and, be a diplomat. That was kind of my career. And that's okay. I would have written about that, and doesn't matter that it changed in the future. All right, so second question. What have you done for your family or community that you care about the most, and why? And if you're not sure, I want you to ask the people close to you in your life, because sometimes we need that mirror held up to us to reflect back, and sometimes people close to us can do a better job of that than we can. We don't always see our own gifts, so find people in your life that can share back to you, hey, I think you're really good at this, or I see that you care about this. So if you're stuck on that one, bring in your community of people that you care about and ask them for some help on that one. Next, describe a personal accomplishment and the strengths and skills you use to achieve it. And finally, describe a significant change or experience that has occurred in your life. How did you respond, and what did you learn about yourself? And so the committee is looking for how resilient you are, what personal skills and assets you have to overcome barriers and challenges in your life. And so again, put a lot of thought into these. Start thinking right now, because you only have 1,000 characters each. And there you go. A couple of tips on those personal statements. Obviously, answer the question. You wouldn't believe how many essays actually somehow don't even answer the question. So read the question really carefully, answer it. Consider who's reading it, that it is a professional educator. It's not, your little brother or your best friend. Consider who is going to be handing out scholarship money. But be original, creative, and honest. Absolute honesty is very important in your writing. Don't try to, embellish anything or be somebody you're not. Don't just repeat information they can find elsewhere on your application. They already know what your grade point average is. Be clear. about academic and career goals. Again, I know that's tough for some of you who don't know what those goals are, but put some thought into something that does sound interesting, even if you're not totally sure. And be careful about using too much humor. It's okay to be, a little bit tongue-in-cheek once in a while, but I've seen that this is an area where students can just get a little carried away and it doesn't actually come off as they think it will. And a couple more tips for those 4 questions. Focus on what makes you unique, any leadership qualities that you have, ways that you take initiative and, just get out there and you notice something that needs to be done and you do it. Think about any recognitions you've received. And it doesn't just have to be, this year. Think back to any time from, say, middle school through now. And it can be over that span of years. So think back to what you've been doing for the last 4, 5, 6 years. And then focus on your passions. And that will really, really come through. All right. Interviews, if you get to that point where you're selected for a big scholarship, a lot of times they will contact you for an interview, especially the Ford Family Foundation scholarships. Absolutely, there's an interview process. So basic interview tips for just like for a job: get there early, make a great first impression, dress for success, be confident, reread your application and your personal statements, because if you forgot what you wrote and you sound like a different person than what they saw on paper, that is going to be a little disjointed and it'll really take away from the strength of why they chose you. So make sure that you really remember what you wrote and why you wrote it. Okay. So those are the personal statements. The last thing I'm going to go over on the OSAC application is the activities chart. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to go back into the actual application and show you the 3 areas that you have to fill out. This is required. And I hope there are some juniors watching this presentation because you have time to build some of these. School and community-based activities is number 1. Number 2, volunteer activities. It can be in your community or in your family. And it doesn't have to be formal. It could be, that you take your, shut-in elderly neighbor meals. It doesn't have to be some big organization. And then any paid work history that you have. So let's take a look at what that chart looks like in the OSAC application. Let's head back in here. Might have to log in again. So let's get myself back in here. I've been talking for a long time. Does anybody have questions? Grab the microphone or use the chat box if you have questions. Anybody? Okay. And Rob, if you can take a peek at the chat box. For some reason, I am not seeing it.
Yeah, I had to sign out of that because it was
causing got it.
Feedback. So.
Oh, there it is.
Do you see it now?
Oh, I do see the chat now. Okay.
I have kind of just a general question about scholarships.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Go ahead.
Sure. This is Lindsay. So, I know that the idea and the hope is that one would get a scholarship, whether it's small, big, or what have you. But how does that actually end up being allocated? Is it something that you would actually receive a check in your name, or is everyone slightly different? Would you see that at the end of a term when you needed to pay, or before?
Yeah.
How does that work? Because it seems like kind of gray. And if that's okay, if that's what it is, that's fine. But I'm missing something.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Lindsay. And it does vary by scholarship foundations. Typically, the money goes directly to the college that you'll be attending.
Okay.
That's typical. It does vary by organization, but that is the most common way that monies get dispersed. it's going to go directly to the institution. And typically, some have, I guess, conditions. Maybe you complete your term or you maintain a certain grade point average, etc.
Okay.
But each one will have some different parameters. But again, the typical way is it's going to go straight to the place of.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, good question. Okay. And yeah, I'm trying to, if somebody had a question in the chat box, go ahead and you can just holler out loud because my chat box kind of disappeared. Okay, let me show you this activities chart real quick. So you can see that there are 3 areas. You have school activities, volunteer, and paid work history. And the recommendation is that you have at least 3 things per category. Now, you can see that there's, up to 20, 20 things listed here, which would be a really busy person. So don't let that scare you. So again, you've got 3 different categories, and what you're going to do is, I've got number 1 selected here. I'm just going to choose my category, and let's just say school, and I'm going to type in drama club, and you can choose, was this a one-time thing, a seasonal, or ongoing? And I'm going to say ongoing, and it's going to ask you to put in a date. So I'm just going to select September 20, let's say you started as maybe a freshman or sophomore, and you're going to do this through the end of this school year. And so these are required fields. So you have to state, whether it's the school, the volunteer, or the paid work. So again, this first one is where you choose the category, the title of what the thing is. And then right here per week, you can see up here, it's how many hours per week. So I'm just going to say this is 2 hours per week. And then total hours, you're going to have to calculate over the course of, if you did this for 3 years, you were in the drama club at your high school, how many hours would that equate to? I'm just going to put in 50 hours. And then over here, responsibilities. Maybe you're just a member. Maybe you're, and I'm feeling this, I told you I'm in my daughter's account, and she was drama club president for 2 of those years, and then a member for 1 year. And I'll tell her to come back in here and fix her hours, because I'm just guessing on her hours. And I would just continue choosing each of these items. I would do not say I have no of anything. There's got to be something you can come up with. Talk to friends and family to help jog your memory of activities that you could somehow morph into one of these categories. Be very honest in what you report, but know that just try to think outside the box and try to really have a good memory about this. I'm not going to confirm that it's final, but I can go ahead and save what I've done so far. And you can see that it then put it up here at the very top, and it's going to sort of start making a list for you of these activities. Anyone who's had a capstone class or mapping your future, you've probably done this activity, and you just have to kind of import it into here. And so hopefully most of you already have some kind of list. If you've ever met with me or Rob for your high school and beyond plan, you've already started a list like this at the bottom of your high school and beyond plan. If you don't have a list, it's okay. Don't panic. You need to create one though. And so take some time to get this information in here. And this is going to help match you up with a lot of those $600 plus scholarships. And now that I've entered that for Jamie, I can go back and look at my scholarships again. And go back to your recommended, and it'll start, the more information you put in there, it'll start building that category of what's recommended for you. Okay. I am going to pause right there because I've spent a ton of time talking to you about OSAC, and we still have so much more to cover. Rob, my timekeeper over here, did not keep me on track. Can I blame him? No, I can't blame him.
It was all such good information, Jen. That's for sure.
It's really good, and I am so passionate about this because it is, you know, money gets left on the table, you guys. I've talked to people at this organization, and there are scholarships that don't get handed out because they don't have applicants or they don't have enough applicants. So definitely get out there, even if you think, oh, I wouldn't get anything. Money gets left on the table, and there's no need for that. You just got to put in a little bit of time and effort, and you'll get that reward. All right. So I'm going to pause right there. I'm going to get out of OSAC and turn it over to Rob so you can learn about other ways to get money for college, but this is a big one. And you'll have all of these notes and the slides sent out to you. So let's see. Rob, I'll let you take it from here and figure out what slides you want to start going through.
Yeah, just being conscious of the time. Let's take a 5-minute break. And if you guys want to join and come back, that's fine. If not, it's almost 4:30. So I think we said we'd be about an hour, and we're going over time. So I'll start here in a few minutes, but we'll take a couple-minute break, and you're welcome to come back and join us, or take a stretching break. And so see you in a couple.
Okay, thank you. And I'll pause that recording for us and come back in 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I had no idea what time it was, Rob. I'm so sorry. So I'm going to stop sharing real quick here. And hit pause.
Okay, so we're back, and I'm going to try to answer some of these questions that are coming in the chat box. So first question regarding transcript. You received your fall term grades from LBCC. Can I just screenshot my overall transcript from my account, including the GPA, and upload it to OSAC? I believe it needs to be an official transcript for OSAC. Jen, is that, would you say that's true?
Unofficial, but it has to be on the Baker.
Has to come from the school directly. So if they get a screenshot from you, I do not believe that's going to be acceptable. They'll probably ask for another one. Okay, and we are going to send out the recording for those of you asking. For school activities, if you're a BWA student, one thing you can do that I'm a proponent of is participate in the school field trips. I know that all the different regional centers have a lot of field trips. For example, in Central Oregon, we have like a flight day, we have a pumpkin patch day, we have hikes out at Smith Rocks. We have a snow science day in the winter. So check with your regional center. I'd say that's a great thing that you can participate in. That then you could add, to your OSAC application there. Let's see, I think we got most of those questions there. Once again, we'll send out the presentation here in a bit. Let's move into Oregon Promise now.
Okay, so just share.
So I'm gonna get this here.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully everybody can see the screen here again. And first, I was just going to give a snapshot of how the typical family is paying for your four-year college or university. So once you apply, this is just the typical years. It's 2012 to the last year was 2016 to 2017. So let's take 2016, 2017 for example. So it says about 19% of funding is coming directly from students borrowing. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about what that might look like as far as student loans go here in a little bit. And then 8% is parent borrowing. So you've got about 27%. So if you think about a quarter of your college is being borrowed, right? The cost is being covered by being borrowed. And then another about a quarter is from your parents. This is, again, the typical average family. This might look a little different for each family, but this is kind of how people are paying for college these days. Students tend to contribute about 11%, it says, relatives and friends, about 4%, a smaller chunk. And then a big portion of your college costs will be covered by scholarships and grants. And we'll go into more of that. And one of those grants happens to be the Oregon Promise, which is available to students who are entering a community college in Oregon. And it's going to cover up to the completion of your associate's degree, or up to 90 credits, whatever comes first. And there are some different eligibility requirements. You have to graduate from an Oregon high school. Oh, perfect. Sorry, I'm trying to move everybody's screen around so we can see the slides a little bit. And you also have to have a 2.5 GPA or higher, and you have to be an Oregon resident for at least a year before enrolling. So we're going to watch a little video here on the next slide. Okay. Let's see if I can. My escape button isn't working. Sorry, guys. Let's see if I can get. Okay. Here we go. All right, so the Oregon Promise site is the same as the OSAC scholarship. So it's all through the Oregon Financial Aid page, the Office of Student Access and Completion. Okay, so that's a good way to remember. If you're filling out the OSAC scholarship application, the Oregon Promise is right next door. So you just search down here, grants, this tab here, and here's a little introduction video of how the Oregon Promise works. So let's give this a whirl. Sound is not showing up. Any ideas of why the sound isn't working? I thought the sound would be working. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it was push and play. So, yeah. Okay, well, the link's going to be on there, and there's a little tutorial there of Oregon Promise. There's some great resources on the site. If you go down to how do I apply, it's going to tell you exactly what you need to do. So you go to the OSAC student portal, which is where we are. You're going to complete the FAFSA or the ORSA. Okay, so the ORSA does not apply to you unless you are an undocumented student. Okay, if you don't fit that category, then you're going to fill out the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, which I'll walk over a little bit more, but that's the difference between those two. And here's the Oregon Promise application demo video, which is another resource there. One thing that is important to know is your deadline for when to apply. So if you're a high school student graduating this June, you can look up and see exactly when your deadline would be, which is also going to be that same month. June 1st is your Oregon Promise application deadline. And if you want to double check it, you can say find your deadline up here. This little link, it'll allow you to actually click on that you're graduating from a traditional high school, and you click your month and your day. So students in Central Oregon are graduating June 7th of 2019, for example, and it tells you your application deadline for Oregon Promise is June 3rd. Okay, so that's kind of how that works there. And lots of great instructions here. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, eligibility guidelines there. Now we're going to move to the FAFSA, which is, again, the free application for federal student aid. I'm going to emphasize free because if you go to a FAFSA site and for some reason it's trying to charge you money, you're at the wrong site. It should be free, always free, okay? And this year they actually added an app so you can complete the FAFSA all from your phone, which is what's over here on the left-hand side. If you can see that there. It's called the My Student Aid app, and you can download that and you can actually fill out the FAFSA completely from your phone. So to begin, you want to go to fafsa.gov, okay, and or this site, the studentaid.ed.gov. /SA/FAFSA. But if you just type in FAFSA.gov, it takes you to the exact same place. Okay, so you should see something that looks like this, a login page, and you're gonna click Start Here, okay? Once you start there and create an FSA ID number or a FAFSA PIN, right? And you can log out, like if you start your application and need to go back and get some documents, then you would come back in as a returning user and you'd click Login over here. Okay, so some different acronyms you might see throughout the course of the FAFSA and just in talking with financial aid officers at different colleges. Our first one is COA, and that stands for cost of attendance, okay? So if you think of, let's take the University of Oregon, for example, and I'm guesstimating it's about, I don't know, $13,000, $14,000 per year for tuition and fees alone, right? You've got that chunk, $13,000, let's say, for tuition. Okay, you're going to also add room and board, which might be another $10,000. So then you've got about $23,000 so far, right? You add in books and supplies, maybe that's $1,000. So now you're up to $24,000. Let's say you need some money to fly back home to Eastern Oregon twice a year, okay? Maybe that's another $1,000, or to drive, put gas in your car, right? That's transportation. We're now up to about $25,000, and then any other personal expenses that you might add up to that. So you can see how the cost of attendance, it takes into consideration lots of different factors. So just make sure that you're, considering all those things when you're looking at different colleges and universities. One thing that you're going to see at the end of completing the FAFSA is the EFC, which stands for Expected Family Contribution, okay? So that's the number that schools that you're applying to are going to see. So for example, say you apply again to the University of Oregon, okay? And say your family makes $30,000 per year, okay? So the FAFSA is going to see that number and send in your parents' financial aid or your parents' finances to University of Oregon, and it spits out the EFC from your FAFSA, and it says, okay, based on your family's income, you are going to be required to pay $6,000 per year, for example, okay? So that's the number that the university gets, right? And then they are going to determine which scholarships and grants. Again, grants are free money. That's great. You don't have to pay back that money. Scholarships, same thing, free money, right? So if you get scholarships or grants, those things, I mean, absolutely, you want to take advantage of those because you do not have to repay those. I'll go into a little bit about the difference between those two. Okay, so a grant, a little bit of a difference between a grant and a scholarship. A grant is going to refer to funds given for a specific purpose, and it's often based on your need, okay? And scholarships refers to financial aid awarded, and it's often based on merit, like your grades, okay? So they might see your high school transcript and they say, okay, you get, X amount of dollars because you got good grades, or you participated in this activity or things like that, okay? So that's kind of a little bit of the difference between those two. And then there's another type of financial aid, which is loans, okay? So that's borrowing money from the federal government or a private lender, okay? And this is good to know. You always have to repay loans, okay? Loans are not free money. I learned that the hard way. But it's oftentimes, necessary, and we can't all afford to go to college, and we don't always get all the grants and all the scholarships, and it doesn't cover all the costs. So sometimes loans are necessary, or working a part-time job, things like that, right? Okay, so let's move to the next slide here. All right, different types of loans. These are two that you might encounter that are common, are subsidized and unsubsidized. So briefly, if you were awarded, for example, maybe a $10,000 subsidized loan from the government, okay, for a year, that means that the government is going to pay the interest, okay, on that loan while you are in school enrolled, okay? So while you're in school, the government is covering the cost of the interest. It's not going to be charged to you. Once you graduate, that interest is then tacked on, okay? So you still are going to be responsible for that, but the benefit being that subsidized are better than unsubsidized loans because that interest is not accruing while you are in school, okay? And the government oftentimes does not charge you interest while you're in school, at least half time, okay? Unsubsidized is available oftentimes for undergrad or graduate students. And the government is charging interest from the time that loan is dispersed. Okay, so right when you sign the paper, the master promissory note, it's going to start accruing interest, right? So then over time, that's going to get bigger and bigger. So it's important to only take out loans that you need, and that a good rule of thumb, I think it's on the next slide too, is don't take out more in loans than you expect your first year, your salary to be after you graduate. Okay, so maybe you graduate with your bachelor's degree and you expect to make $30,000 per year, for example. You don't want to take out more than $30,000 in loans, if possible. Okay, moving on. Oh yeah, so I was going to share my story because I learned the hard way, right? So I borrowed this much money, and do you guys think that I actually made that much money when I graduated? No. So that was a quick wake-up call of like, whoa, I borrowed way too much money, right? And so then I had to learn over time, and it was rough, there for a while. It's real money and they want it back. So be wise to, when you're considering what kind of loans you are taking out, and that those will need to be repaid. And then when you actually do repay it, you're going to be paying a lot more in interest as well, right? Okay. Moving on to the next slide. Okay, here are some FAFSA myths. Okay, I'm just going to go over a couple of these. There's 9 of them, but we are, again, running over in time, so you can look through these when we send out the slides. So first myth, my parents make too much money, so I won't qualify for aid. I hear that a lot, okay? But the reality is that you don't know until you apply, okay? So maybe you think, oh, there's no way that I'm going to, qualify for anything. Well, but guess what? People that say that, there's an average of, I think it's around $9,000 that students qualify for an aid that often goes unmet each year. There, if you think of the whole U.S., there's billions of dollars in aid, and they want to give you money to help out, right? Grants, scholarships, loans, things like that. And people often don't take advantage of it, but you don't know until you apply, okay? So let's go to the next myth. I support myself, so I don't have to include my parents' info on the FAFSA form. And that is, again, a myth, so not true, okay? It's not necessarily true. Even if you live on your own or if you file your own taxes, you may still be considered a dependent, okay? So the FAFSA is gonna walk you through questions, and you're gonna have to mark whether you're a dependent, right? You still are financially dependent on somebody else, be it your parents, for keeping up, your expenses and all that. And so that's what qualifies you as a dependent. And there are lots of different questions and categories that they'll walk you through on the form, or an independent, right? And so based on where you qualify, that'll put you into a different slot for how they are going to categorize the financial aid package that you receive, okay? Next myth, I'll just do 2 more. I should wait until I'm accepted to college before I fill out the FAFSA form. No, you got to fill it out now, okay? It started October 1st was the opening deadline for when the, or I should say opening time. What's the word for deadline? Not deadline, the open application. There we go. I need more coffee.
Yeah, me too.
Of when you can start applying, there we go, was October 1st. So senior year of high school, all right, starting October 1st, you want to fill out the FAFSA. And this is one that you do want to fill out sooner than later if possible, okay? There's a big pot of money out there, and they kind of award it on a first come, first serve basis for some of the different types of grants and scholarships, okay? So there's a whole bunch of people applying, and the sooner that you get in, the better. Okay, you can also list up to 10 colleges that you want to or are considering applying to at a time when you're filling out the FAFSA. So every single year that you go to college, you have to refill out the FAFSA, okay? So it's not a one-time deal. Oh, they're gonna pay for my college, or I'm qualifying for financial aid for the next 4 years. Nope, every single year, your financial situation and your parents' financial situation might change year over year, and the FAFSA takes that into account, okay? So we'll do the last myth here. If I didn't receive enough money for school, I'm just out of luck. That is not true. There's still lots of different options, okay? Even if you've received federal, state, and college aid, but you're still having trouble filling in the gap, okay? for what you could possibly do. There's always other options. There's outside scholarships, okay? So what Jen was sharing earlier was the OSAC, which is a state scholarship, right? But there's other websites like FastWeb, which she shared about earlier, and other different options for outside scholarships. You could get a job. You could work part-time, right? You could work out a payment plan with either your school or a lender from your loans that you're borrowing. There's also special circumstances reevaluation. I just actually sat in on a presentation the other day from a former admissions officer. And if you apply to, let's say, 3 different universities and you get into, let's say, 2 out of those 3, right? And your top choice is the most expensive option, okay? And you get not as much financial aid. And then your second choice you got into, you got a lot of financial aid, but you really, that's not your top choice, okay? You could do something where you actually send your financial aid package from the school that you might not want to go to, but you could send that package politely. And this dean of admissions or former dean of admissions stressed the importance of politely. You don't want to demand anything from a college in terms of financial aid. It's not going to help you in the long run, but you could say politely, hey, I was accepted to this other school and they actually offered me this much money. Would it be possible to reevaluate the financial aid package that you gave me because I am either considering going to this other school because it's cheaper, or I'm wondering if there could be a more comparable, package available for me at this institution, right? And they will actually oftentimes take that into account, and there's an appeal process. So check with your financial aid office there. And it's not, we asked her some questions like, well, isn't that seen as rude, or would that hurt them at all? And as long as you do it in a polite and respectful way, the feedback was that you can always approach an admissions department with a different college or university's financial aid package to see if they'll reconsider what they might offer to you, okay? So additional federal loans, school-based loans, emergency aid, there's lots of different options. So always call those financial aid offices before you just go, oh, this is not possible, right? There are ways to make it possible, okay? So if you're accepted to a school, I believe that, you should be allowed to figure out ways to get there. And if they accept you to a school, they want you to attend, and they're going to do what they can to help get you there, okay? So there's some other myths here in the slideshow that we'll send out, but that is some information to get us going here. And most importantly, if I can get to the very last slide, because I was so excited about the last slide. It's not letting me go.
Oh, no, they don't want them to calm.
Apparently it doesn't want me to go to the last slide, but, oh, there we go. Keep calm, because it's senior year, right? It can be a stressful time, but remember to keep calm. Okay, so going back to, how do I go back to chat here, Jen?
I just usually have to stop sharing.
Okay, so hopefully we're not missing any questions, but I think we're gonna call it a presentation for now. And like we said, we'll send this out to you guys. Thanks for joining. And if you do have specific questions, feel free to email or call Jen or I at a later time, and we'll do our best to get back to you.
All right, thanks guys. Okay, so let's get us out of here.
It's right there. Stop sharing.
Here, I'll let you take over. It's like hidden. There we go.
We got it.